Here.
Ms. Price?
Here.
Ms. Overby?
Here.
Ms. Wilson?
Here.
Mrs. Reed?
Here.
And I'm Mike Carney, I'm here. We have.
Yeah, if you want to take care of that short language right there.
Oh. The board will now conduct a public hearing on the 24-25 revenue neutral tax rate. Anyone wishing to make a comment or ask questions may come forward now. And we have Mrs. Miller.
Yes, well, can I ask a question now about the budget, or do I need to wait for later?
No, this is about the revenue
Okay,
neutral.
okay,
You're up.
okay.
You have 3 minutes.
I have 3 minutes. I
Okay.
timed it.
Okay.
Okay. I believe that most of you already have made your minds up regarding property tax increases, but I implore you to listen to me with an open mind. For too long, our district has relied on excuses regarding the student body to rationalize both the low outcomes and the need for more money. Using the which comes first, the chicken or the egg argument, I believe our district has for years said the money comes first, then the student outcomes will follow. This has not proven to be true, as test scores have consistently been below the state average. In order to get the money, i.e. the property taxes, Leavenworth schools need to become a beacon of student achievement. Without student achievement, people move and there is less of a base to provide tax money. Many of your own staff don't choose to live in our district, including top administrators who may live in the county but not the district. In my own neighborhood, a preponderance of former military personnel who chose to pursue post-military jobs in this area move away when they fully retire. Likewise, their children choose not to stay here or to return following college. Another fact to consider is that Missouri no longer taxes military retirement as it did when my husband concluded his active duty service. If it had been so when we retired, we would have chosen to live in Missouri, as would many others I know. I challenge USD 453 to hold the line on property tax increases and instead rise to student standards. While not an educator, I am a mother. I know that high expectations work. For example, Florida is considered to be one of the top states in the country for education. I suspect that this has something to do with the elimination of social promotions and the requirement at certain grade levels to pass specific tests before being allowed to progress. For those who say you can't attract top talent without higher salaries, I propose the counter argument that those who enter education are idealistic about their calling. If you recruit them with the promise that you will provide the support they need to achieve something amazing in this district, a complete turnaround of student outcomes, the best and the brightest will come.
15 seconds.
What do many USDs have in common besides ours? They are all districts with both lower property taxes and students who achieve better outcomes. And I'd be happy to give you those USD numbers if you need it.
Your time's up. Thank you.
Just looking for Mr. Potter. That was the only person. Okay, right?
You're going to read the resolution? Okay.
Mr. President, I move the adoption of the following resolution. Resolution 24//25-014, exceeding the revenue neutral tax rate. KSA 79-2988 provides that a levy of property taxes to finance the 2024-2025 budget of USD 453 exceeds the revenue neutral tax rate to finance the 2024-2025 budget of USD 453 to be authorized by a resolution. Now therefore be it resolved by USD 453 that the 2024-2025 budget with a levy of property taxes exceeding the revenue neutral tax rates calculated for 2024-2025 as adjusted pursuant to KSA 79-2988 is hereby adopted. Adopted this 9th day of September 2024 by the Board of Education of Unified School District Number 453, Leavenworth County, Kansas. Attested by the Board of Education of Unified School District 453, Leavenworth County, the state of Kansas.
Second.
Okay, we'll now have a roll call vote. Mrs. Murphy,
No.
Mrs. Wells,
Yes.
Mrs. Price,
Yes.
Mrs. Overby,
No.
Mrs. Wilson?
This is adopting the agenda.
No,
This
this is the revenue neutral.
Oh, no.
Where am I? Vanessa Reed,
No.
and I say yes. So where are we at?
Adjournment of the revenue neutral tax hearing.
Hmm?
Adjournment.
Okay.
I had motion fail 3-4. Looking for confirmation. Okay. So the district would not exceed revenue neutral this year and instead would remain revenue neutral. Beth, anything you want to add for purposes of context or otherwise? We would revert back to the revenue neutral rate.
Reduction in the mill levy. That would have to be,
Correct. The reason I'm asking is we now have another hearing that's about to open up that will impact this.
Yes.
So do you have anything you wanted to add before?
I think,
Okay.
unless there's any other specific questions.
Are there any specific questions? Because you will see now a reduction in the mill rate, which would then reduce the ad valorem taxes that would flow to the district. So obviously the expenditures would obviously need to be adjusted as well. I don't know if we have the specific expenditures, and I'm going to emphasize that's probably more than one, but we will reduce those in various categories to align with the lesser revenue flowing to the district.
I trust that you will have good judgment when you're working on our priorities and comparing them strategically.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is
This was posted for 6:05, so you are clear time-wise.
we good. We adjourn that, right?
Yes.
Revenue neutral tax hearings adjourned. We'll go to item 5. What did I do? Roll call again, huh?
Yep.
Have to do another roll call. Mrs. Murphy,
Here.
Mrs. Wells,
Here.
Mrs. Price,
Here.
Mrs. Overby,
Here.
Mrs. Wilson.
Here.
Mrs. Reed.
Here.
And I'm Mike Carney, I'm here. Okay. Nobody speaking, correct?
We don't have anybody registered to speak. I'm just looking at the audience. Anybody wishing to speak on hearing number 2? Beth and I are certainly willing to answer any questions. Okay, so given the decision that was made, Beth and I have had some conversation. I think what will likely occur is the revenue would flow less to capital outlay. As you know, general fund is statutorily bound at 20 mils. I have concerns about lessening the bond and interest. I think that our debt service should be maintained. And then I would like to see the LOB stay at the full 33% because it's operational funds and because the state aid is higher in that category. So I think it would make the most sense, and I'm looking for Beth to confirm, to reduce the capital outlay. Again, the total mill rate is what we're really looking at to be revenue neutral. So Beth, anything you want to add there?
No. The only thing I would add is that the capital outlay mill rate then would be 5.757 mils.
So dropping 2 1/4, correct?
Yes.
So what's that dollar amount that goes back to the state? Not the taxpayers.
The taxpayers fund the state. Just to make sure everybody
Yeah,
understands.
yeah, we got that.
Just a second.
there any other questions we can answer tonight?
I have a concern.
It's $314,000.
314,000. But that doesn't go back to the Leavenworth taxpayer, just so you know. It goes back to the state, and that's where we put our money. Okay. What'd you say? You have some, oh, yeah.
I said I have a concern because the budget was written based on exceeding revenue neutral. Is there really a way to vote on it? Because we do not have the proper figures in front of us.
It's a valid question. I appreciate that. So this is the beauty of how our capital outlay and specifically our 5-year CIP works. So with a capital outlay improvement plan, you have not approved all those expenditures within that fiscal year. I think I've sat down with a couple of you and gone over this. We kind of have that slow trickle, so to speak, where projects come to you month by month. And so what our facilities team and Beth is going to do now is they're going to look and say, what is top priority versus what are those projects that can be, say, put into the next fiscal year. Does that make sense? So I don't have the round number, but Beth just gave you this $314,000 number. We're going to reduce expenditures by at least that much because that much less revenue is flowing to that fund. I hope that answers your question, Mrs. Burke.
It does, but it doesn't because we're voting on this one. We do not have a printed out or an exact stated besides saying we'll reduce it. Saying that we'll reduce it, we're not showing that we're reducing it. So it's kind of like voting on a legal form that does not have all the legal numbers printed upon it.
Mr. Hingle, do you have anything to say about that?
Not really. I mean, the budget is the budget. If you can add whatever the asterisks, basically, that Kellen's talked about, Dr. Adams talked about what you're going to reduce it at, unless that has time to go and rerun those numbers down. You can run an asterisk basically on the budget to say what you're going to do.
You don't have the revenue neutral one available.
Tony, can you open up that attachment?
So one more thing that I'm
So-
thinking here. So if you look at row 16, which is the fund for capital outlay, you're setting an authority in August. And you'll see this authority is really high. In fact, I was anticipating questions. Why is it set so high? We do that in capital outlay intentionally.
Yeah.
That way, if say a boiler and a roof both need to be replaced, we're not coming to you with this emergency board meeting. We've got the authority to expend that. So I don't see any need to change the authority here, even with the lesser revenue.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Beth?
Yes, that's what I was wanting to refer to. So the expenditures are budgeted there at $15.3 million. That again is just an estimate and it can be lower. It's not saying we were going to spend that money. So lowering the mill rate from the 8 mils to the 5.757 to stay revenue neutral, then of course lowers the tax amount as well in that column 6.
In fact, I want to be very clear. We are not planning to spend $15.1 million in capital outlay this year.
Right.
We are planning to spend far less.
Yes.
All right, and I don't mean to be difficult, but as this is presented here into the public as a legal document that we're voting on, the figures that we are now talking about are not reflected on this. This would be like voting on a check that was written for X and then saying, but we'll change it later to fit what we've discussed.
The budget on it though, as far as the capital outlay, we have reserves and things that you can come out for that. Am I correct on that, Beth?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not saying this is the amount of money we're going to spend necessarily. It's saying these are what our projected spends potentially are. It's not
Does that
saying
mean
it's all
anything?
tax numbers. So I don't think it's a misrepresentation of what you're voting on. I think it's you're saying these are the estimated amounts that we're going to be potentially spending, as Dr. Adams and Beth both said that 15.3 million is not likely what we're going to be spending, but we always keep you apprised of what that potentially could be. We understand that since we've kept it revenue neutral, that additional amounts are going to come in, but if we had to spend that 15.3 and keep the budget as it is, it would come out of reserves.
Would we need to go ahead and have, when we make the motion to approve this budget, that we amended this budget to go with the revenue neutral?
No, the only,
Okay.
the only thing the revenue neutral changes is if
Is
you
the
had, do have to
capital
spend
outlay.
at 15.3, whether it's coming from the amount that you're getting from taxes or it's coming from your receipts.
Okay,
Miss-
I just wanted to make sure it was clarified, just, because when it gets to figures and voting on figures.
Well, again, capital outlay, as explained by Dr. Adams, it's an estimate of all potential of what could happen every year, and I'm sure Beth could correct me more because she's the number.
Right, you're on
the number-
target.
The numbers are, is that we always budget above and beyond. We never really hit that number.
That is correct.
So it's because we over budget out of abundance of caution. So this really doesn't change anything. The hopes are with capital outlay, even staying revenue neutral, that we would be well with under so that we're not dipping any additional new monies to help cover this. The amount would come from reserves.
Right. I'd also like to clarify that in the resolution, it just states that the local option percentage will remain 33%, and that's the only number that we are resolving to adopt. I want to make sure that with revenue neutral, the 33% does not change.
Correct.
Okay. So there really aren't any dollar amounts that we're voting on.
So because of this previous vote we just held, their taxes are not going to go up.
Correct.
We stayed revenue neutral last year and taxes still went up. So that's not within our control.
No,
The amount that we.
No, year before last.
Yeah.
We did not stay revenue neutral last year.
because the assessment almost,
Correct. Which we have no control over.
Right.
I will make sure the, what is published on the district website reflects being revenue neutral.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing the time to ask the
So I need a
clarifying
motion.
questions.
Approve the budget.
Hmm?
We need a motion to approve the budget.
Yeah.
And I'll do a resolution.
So without any further discussion, we need a motion to approve the budget.
I move that we approve the 2024-2025 budget.
second.
Got a motion by Mrs. Price, Mrs. Reed seconded. All in favor? Oh, is that roll call too?
Does not have to.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Like 7-0. Okay. You now adjourn the budget?
No.
What?
Resolution 702.
Oh, the resolution. Good old resolution.
Good old resolutions. Mr. President, I move the adoption of the following resolution, Resolution 24/25-015, Building Needs Assessment, Local Option Budget Percentage, and Adoption of the Budget. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of Unified School District Number 453, Leavenworth County, Kansas, that on April 30th, 2024, a Buildings Needs Assessment was provided and evaluated by the Board of Education. The Board of Education shall be authorized to make a local option percentage in an amount of 33% for the 2024-2025 school year and hereby adopts the 2024-2025 budget as published in the Leavenworth Times.
Now we need a roll call vote, right?
Does not need a roll call vote.
But it does need a second.
Second.
I mean,
Just Price and Wells.
Price and Wells,
Yes.
all in favor?
Aye.
7-0.
Now you can adjourn.
Now we can adjourn the budget hearing. Okay, call to order for the September 9th board meeting, USD 453. And I guess we'll do another roll call. Ms. Murphy, you still here?
Yep, still
Mr.
here.
Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed? You're not here? Okay.
Here.
Mrs. Wilson?
Here.
Mrs. Overby?
Here.
Mr. Price?
Here.
And I'm here. Okay, and now do a pledge of allegiance, I believe.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Moving right along now. Would you like to recite the distribution statement?
I would, Mr. Carney, but I would like to be granted a quick sidebar first. I'd like to
Okay.
draw your attention to the second row, actually third row back there. Our new director of facilities is in the house, Mr.
Uh-oh.
John Winters. We want to welcome John to our team. So just started, I think, last week, if I'm not mistaken. So I look forward to having you all meet with him when he's available. So thank you for that. On to the mission statement. The mission of the Leavenworth Public Schools is to prepare every student for success in every classroom every day. Thank you, Mr. Carney.
Thank you. It's just any scheduled speakers? No speakers. Moving right along to number 10.
I'd like to make a motion to
Adoption of
adopt
the
the
agenda.
agenda
Oh,
as
no,
presented.
yeah, no, yeah, thank you.
I'll second.
Got a motion to adopt the agenda by Mrs. Murphy, second by Ms. Overby. All in favor?
Aye.
7-0 for adopting the agenda. Okay, item 10 then. Consent agenda.
I'd like to
Anyone?
make a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented.
A second. A motion to adopt the agenda by Mrs. Wells. I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Looks like 7-0. Can't keep up with these numbers. Where we at? 11? Something?
What
12.
was 12, it's now 11.
Nothing removed. So. Item 12. Kansas Association of School Boards Annual Conference Delegate Assembly. We'll need a motion for who are,
Does it have to be an emotion or just an appointment?
I think we'll do.
I'd like to nominate Mrs. Price to be our delegate, and I would like to invite any of us that are also attending, which I believe 5 out of 7 of us are attending, to witness the delegate assembly to see what happens there.
You have a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Mrs. Wells, second by Mrs. Murphy to nominate Mrs. Price as the delegate assembly for the Kansas Association of School Boards Conference. All in favor?
Aye.
Looks like 6-1. Okay,
And if I could make a clarification, a question for a clarification, this is also when we sat there and we send in our intent for the representation for our votes, and then it's a quorum based on that through Mrs. Price. Thank you.
All right, good evening. I think we're ready for 13. Is that correct?
yep,
All right, so good evening, board members. We are here to present for the first time as a part of the strategic plan highlight of the Human Resource Department. And with me tonight, I have my colleague, Amy Jo Troyer, who is the Assistant Director of Human Resources, presenting with me. So what we just passed out to you are the 23-24 recruiting tools that we used for last year. So everything we're going to talk about is last year. This is an annual review, the first time we've ever done it. This is a part of the strategic plan that you adopted last fall. So we're going to walk through that. Very first thing I want to draw your attention to is our strategic plan that you adopted. We are focusing, as you know, this is our compass. This is what directs us over the course of the year as far as our implementation and meeting the goals and objectives that you have set. And tonight we are talking specifically about the staffing and personnel. More importantly, as you see, the objective under staffing and personnel is recruit and hire. The recruitment and retainment of our staff. And below there are the action steps. These are the things that we will do over the course of the year in order to meet that goal of recruiting and retaining our staff. These action items we will actually address throughout our presentation, but I just want to refer to these. Everything that we're doing is referencing the strategic plan that you set before us. So again, I'm going to repeat myself. This is last year's data, just as Mr. Bodensteiner comes up and presents to you annually and has for several years. It's the data from last year. So I'm providing you the data from last year with regards to the Human Resource Department. So the very first slide we have here, and there is a glare, and I'm blind, so I'm gonna go, I'm kind of telling you my age, sorry about that. What we have in front of us here is the total number of staff that we have for the district in 23-24 school year. And we have it in the categories of certified staff. We have 305 certified staff. Those are your licensed teachers. That could be classrooms teachers, your counselors, your librarians, your social worker. It could be instructional facilitators. So anyone that holds a license through the Kansas Department of Education is considered one of your certified staff members. Your classified employees are going to be your at-will employees. They are paid hourly. Your certified, remember, are under contract for the year. Classified are at-will employees. They include your front office staff, all your administrative assistants, your paraeducators, your custodians, building and grounds. So it's a wide array of our support staffs. Think of them as the support staff. And lastly, we have our administrative team. There are 42 of our administrators. Those are all your district administrators that are housed in this office, along with all your building principals, your assistant principals, your directors of all of your programs, facilities and grounds, technology. Those are just a few to list, and then all their coordinators as well. So that makes up a total of 621 staff members that we had in the 23-24 school year. And then off to the side, we had to mention our additional, I think of them as contracted service or substitutes. Some of them work all year long. Some of them may only work a day for us. They have a varying schedule. They don't have a set schedule. They are not necessarily earning any type of benefits from us. They work in other districts, not just our district.
So it brings us to a total for our staff demographics of 705 staff. So our 621 full-time and then our 84 amazing substitutes are all included. We wanted to give you an overview of our team makeup. So you'll note the gender of our staff. We are predominantly female at 72.3%, and our male population is about 27.7%. In addition, you'll see on the right, we have broken down the percentage of our total staff, so you get a visual of what that looks like. So we have the largest majority of our staff are our certified team at 43.3%. We have our classified staff as the second largest portion at 38.9%. Finally, we have our substitute teaching team at just under 12%, and our administration makes up just about 6%. So that's our total breakdown by employee type.
So a little bit more demographics about our staff. Residency, I heard something about residency earlier. We actually have 58.3% of our employees. This is all employees. So the number that we just presented, this is certified, classified, and administrators. 58.3% reside in Leavenworth city limits in Leavenworth. Then we have an additional 16.8% that would reside in Leavenworth County, in Leavenworth cities within our county. So that makes up 75.1% of our total staff live in Leavenworth County. 75.1% live in Leavenworth County. And then we have the 24.9, which is 25% that drive into from another county or potentially another state to come and work in our school district. And this is both certified and classified. Also on the other chart there, we have our ethnicity, and you can see that we have a total of the percentage there, 84.3%, which is Caucasian, and then we have 7.4% that are African American, and then we have other for our other categories.
When we look at fill rates, we know that's incredibly important. It really sets the tone for our staffing for the year. We wanted to give you an overview of what the 23-24 school year looked like. You can see a little bit of variation there. We had a peak of 90.6 in February of 24, and we had a valley as low as 84.3 in May. So this just gives you a visual overview of our staffing levels for the year.
So when we say fill rate, these are not new positions. These are the current board-approved positions that you allowed us to have in the school year. And these are the positions that we filled of those openings. So the fill rate, we asked, I believe it was Mrs. Price asked, well, how do we compare? So what we have here in front of you is the 22-23 versus the 23-24. So in 22-23, our average fill rate was 86.91%. And then last year, as Amy Jo Troyer just said, in 23-24, our average fill rate was at 87.65%. So we did see a 0.74 increase on our fill rate. I'm going to round up on this one. So we have a 1% increase on our fill rate. I want to bring a couple things to your attention as we progress through this slideshow. Some things that you need to kind of think about. You got to think about when the pandemic hit and the ESSER dollars and what you as a board directed us to do with those dollars, which was a lot of positions that we added. So we're going to talk about those positions. We had as many as 28 ESSER positions that we actually added in order to help with instructional loss as well as for mental health for our students. Those positions all went away at the end of last year because the ESSER dollars had to be expended. So all those positions we added and then we took them away. Okay.
We would be remiss if we didn't talk about onboarding. Welcoming new staff to our team is one of the big highlights for us. I wanted to give you a snapshot of what last year looked like. We welcomed 197 new staff into vacant positions. Of that, if you consider our total staff for the year of 621, assuming some are in, some are out at different times, right? Overall, that's about 31.72% of our total staff was new to our district. So we shared the breakdown here for you to see. Predominantly 67.5% of our new staff that we welcomed were filling vacant classified positions. 24% were filling vacant certified positions. 6.1% filled internship positions, which we'll talk a little bit about for our summer learning experiences for both summer school and some of our support staff. And then just a small sliver, which unfortunately some of us called it a wheel, some of us called it a donut graph, didn't quite show up with that percentage, but it represents just under 4 new welcoming 4 new administrators to vacant positions.
So again, how did we compare to the previous year? So we're talking 23-24 versus the prior year, 22-23. In that first category of certified, you can see a decline as far as from the 22-23 to 23-24. Same is true of our classified administrators. That was one additional grant-funded administrator through federal dollars. And then our interns. I want to speak of our interns because a lot of our school community does not know about it. Our facilities have always used interns in the summer. For 20 plus years that I can recall, they would hire summer interns to help with mowing. Then over time, especially through after the 2019-2020 year, we began hiring interns for other departments. Our interns are high school students and or in college. They live in the area and they're looking for a summertime job just like any other business that you could go in town and apply for. These interns now have expanded to public relations. We have our technology department hires, our custodians hire, HR hires. They do an amazing job. Most people don't realize our busiest time for all of us in this office is the summer because we're closing out the year and then we're starting and planning for the next year. So we use those interns. What you've seen at Convocation was the great work and help with some of our public relations interns, and HR when we do our onboarding and helping with the teacher academy that some of you visited, they're helping with that as well. So we really have valued our summer interns. This one's me too. Okay, so onboarding. There's lots of things that happen when you onboard a new employee. So we just kind of want to walk you through. I know you guys know this, but we want to share this so that our community knows as well. So a certified applicant We interview our certified teachers, usually take a minimum of an hour for an interview. That's myself. I sit in on every certified interview. And then we have building administrators or assistant principals that will sit in on those interviews. Once we complete the interview, if the applicant can, we will then take them on a building tour. If there are more than one building that may have that opening, depending on the time that's allowed for the applicant, we could maybe give them a couple tours of various buildings. But on average, it's between an hour and 2 hours. Once we identify the candidate, we make the offer. It takes time with certified because first we have to verify, we vet them before we bring them in, and then we have to vet them again with regards before the offer. We have to determine the allocation in which we're going to offer. We need to make sure they have the experience and the education, and that is all based off of what you approved for us on the salary schedule, their placement and what they'll be compensated. Then we figure out the benefits package. We then contact the candidate and we offer. Typically, we give 48 hours to make a decision. In prime time, as far as recruiting season, they're out there interviewing elsewhere. We don't want to leave somebody, a second candidate, holding and then they take another job. So we really, and that's kind of like the practice across all districts is 48 hours typically to make a decision. Because we don't want to hold a position and then lose another candidate in the process. Once we do that, if they do accept, we do communication back and forth. We never want to pressure anybody. We want them to, especially if they're brand new, first year, call mom, call dad, visit with your siblings or whatever. Make sure you talk to somebody else so that they understand what we've just offered them. Because that's kind of overwhelming as a first year right out of college, you've been offered a position. So we really encourage them to discuss that with somebody else. If they would like to. If they accept the position, then comes the behind the scenes work with the account creations with our HR software in order to build the account for them. That takes roughly 30 minutes with our HR team. Alice Shakespeare is a part of our team. Annie Kincannon is a part of our team just on the HR side, and they help us with all those processes. Then payroll also takes a key role in this. Once we create the account, and we identify that they've been set up, then payroll and Beth's office help with setting up that as well, the payroll piece. Then there's now we have them come to our office. We finish any of our final paperwork that we may need to scan in that they weren't able to provide via electronics. We provide them with a actual device. If we offer you a job in May, we try to get your device in hand. So you have it over the summer so you can start looking at the curriculum, preparing, and attending some of our summer opportunities that are provided through teaching and learning. So they come in, they get their device, they get their ID, so they have access to the building. Finally, there's one other piece of the New Teacher Academy that Teaching and Learning puts on. That's 4 days. They allow us a cycle in that in which we have an hour to present to all the certified staff. So on average, it takes about 5.5 hours just to onboard one employee each time.
Our classified side of the house is not much different, though those interviews typically happen on site at a building level. Those are a bit more localized because there may be a specific opening to that building. So those generally range anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, depending on if a tour is also offered. Again, just as Mrs. Sloan had outlined, I kind of lovingly coined this as like the business of becoming an employee. That's also true for our classified team. So we are working to validate their experience, to place them on the salary schedule that you have approved, to vet their background, to move them through that process as well. So you'll see those same tasks duplicated. Our candidate communication, I work a lot with our paraprofessionals, with our building aides, our instructional team, our custodial teams, and all others we onboard to establish two-way communication of start dates and other questions they may have. We also have our account creation, our payroll setup, our on-site visits typically can be a little bit longer with our classified team because we're working through some questions that they may have through that process too. And then our new hire orientation with our classified team varies. I gave a ballpark figure of 2 hours because that is at minimum my time investment anytime one of our new classified staff is onboarding. You'll note, as you know, our paraprofessionals completed. We maintained our paraprofessional onboarding pilot as a partnership with special education that gives those individuals 27 hours over and above So the HR piece of 2 hours feels just kind of blocked in there a little bit, but our total investment for our classified team is anywhere from 5 to 5.5 hours. So what does that mean? Anytime we look at an investment, how much time, how much effort, how much energy goes into that, just based on these, if we took our 197 new individuals that we welcomed to our Pioneer family, times the bare minimum 4.5 hours that we've estimated here for our staff, it equals out to 886.5 hours. You break that down by a traditional 8-hour day, and that is 110 days of manpower to onboard those individuals. So again, it's one of our highest honors to welcome people to our team, but it's also one of the most significant investments that we make. So as we're talking about onboarding staff, the reality is that there are individuals who will also leave employment, and how we help them separate and move on to their next steps is part of our process. So here we give you a snapshot of our total year in review. So in 2023-24, we separated 226 employees. If you assume the 621 total, again, they came in and out at different times of the year, but we look at that total, that is just over 36% of our staff. The breakdowns for the reason for their separation, 92.9, so essentially 93% are traditional resignation, 6.2% are retirements, and then a small sliver were some individuals who were terminated from employment. So the predominant group of our team, 93%, are traditional resignation from the district.
So just as we did in the onboarding, these are the individuals who are leaving our district that are exiting. How did we compare to the previous year? So as you look, you'll see an increase in the resignations. I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to remind you, all the ESSER positions went away at the end of last year. So that's why we believe there's a slight uptick in that number, especially with we had not only certified, but we also had classified positions. We also had a reduction in our federal dollars, Title I specific, and so we had to reduce the number of aides that were paid out of Title I, and so there was a reduction there. So with our retirements, there was a reduction there, and then terminations, which we just spoke about. How does that compare to the previous year? As Amy Jo just said, we are at 36.9 in the 23-24 school year. We were actually at 31.8% in the 22-23. I do attribute the increase to the ESSER positions. Another factor that you need to think about is your negotiated agreement. There is an article in there, which is early retirement incentive, that is sunset to it sunsets in 2025 this spring. And so if an individual that is under that agreement does not retire last year or this year, then they potentially could lose out on that benefit.
So we've talked about welcoming new staff, and we've talked about having to separate from others who are pursuing new path. But we want to talk about some data for those individuals who are here. So as an overview of our attendance, this is specific to certified staff. We queue this up because these are the individuals who may more often than not require a substitute to work in their place. So this particular data set is something that we have tracked for many years. So 2023-24 snapshot or overview in time. I want to draw your attention to that graph. A couple of things to note. The blue section of that graph, so you'll see it's blocked off monthly. Blue section of that graph are individual vacancies or openings that didn't require a sub. That could be a coach leaving early for a professional leave to attend to an event or an activity sponsor doing the same. It could be an individual for whom classroom teaching or classroom instruction is not a direct responsibility. So that could be a school counselor, a school social worker, etc. So those are our positions that did not require a sub. The green positions include filled vacancies. So these are our positions that were available for a substitute to pick up, or these were our vacant positions where we have a long-term substitute filling that vacancy. Finally, in red, those are the positions that otherwise went unfilled with an outside person coming into the building. Those don't represent unfilled classrooms. The unfortunate reality is that definitely represents some internal coverage and support from various individuals in the classroom, but it does not represent unattended classrooms. I want to be very clear about that. Our total absences, total occurrences of absence or leave was 7,858 for the year. We had an overall fill rate of 89% with 84 substitutes. So I give them a big shout out. They're an amazing team. And average days missed per person, just surely based on the numbers, averages out to 26.5. So in this, I want to do a quick note that even with 1,725 more absences than last year, our substitute teaching team provided a 10% increase in our fill rate from 79% to 89% for the 23-24 school year.
Can you talk a little bit more about that average days missed per person? What does that look like?
So it truly is just numbers. It's 7,858 divided by the total staff that we had at that time. And it just gives us a generic overview, right? What does that look like per person? That could include times where individuals are out on a designated leave. That could include time where we've got a long-term substitute filling that particular vacancy. So it is just math.
I just wanted to clarify for the public.
That does not mean that every teacher in our district is missing that many days.
Correct.
Please hear me say that. That's just taking the total number, dividing it by the number of teachers that we have. Yes. In fact, this next slide may help a little bit. So this is a 7-year attendance. This is only certified. Again, I draw your attention to the 2019-2020 school year, and that is when schools closed down across the nation. We had a reduction after when we opened back up. You can see that we have slowly inclined the number of absences, but I want to repeat what Amy Jo said. But we had 16 long-term subs, for example, working last year. 16, so we take 16 times 172 days, that gets added into these totals. Does that make sense? So it's a little misleading because we're counting every time a sub is being used every day. Does that make sense?
As an absence.
As an absence, yes.
Rather than it still
Yes, ma'am.
physically had a human person
Yes, ma'am.
in there. It's just
It
the
counts
reporting
against us.
mechanics.
Yes, it kind of counts against us, if that makes sense. Because we didn't have a certified teacher. We had a certified sub that was licensed, but we didn't have that highly qualified teacher.
Right,
in
but you
there.
have educators
Yes,
that have
yes, ma'am.
babies or illnesses or things like that that could pull them away, that you were required to use that long-term sub.
Yes, ma'am. So this just kind of tells you, and also let's remind everyone that there is a teacher shortage. So we put a lot more demand on our current teachers. And since the pandemic, yes, we do have some teachers using more days, which is well within their right. But teachers only get 10 days a year to use. They get 10 chargeable days. Not all of them use it, but that is within their right. And then if they have to, for various reasons, they can get into a bank if they choose to bank some of those days from year to year. I think this is me. All right, so we've kind of walked through and given you a lot of data. So we want to pause for a second. And in 23-24, we set some goals. Our department, specifically all around the recruitment and retainment of staff. We also earmarked some very specific strategies or action items that we wanted to focus on. I know you guys had my presentation early, so I'm not going to sit here and read. So now we're going to share with you some of the things we did during the 23-24 school year, hopefully to reach closer to our objective and also to our goals, specifically with regards to HR. All right, so I have the pleasure of getting to attend almost all of our certified recruitments. It's the joy of my life as far as in the position of HR. I love onboarding our new upcoming staff, especially right out of college. This is just a snapshot of all the schools in which we actually attended in the 23-24 school year. Most of them you'll see are in Kansas, Missouri, and Nebraska.
Our classified recruitment works a bit differently, where our colleges and universities may have education-specific fairs. not many are having education-related career fairs. So we work a lot with posting within our own current applicant tracking system, which is called Recruit and Hire. Definitely participating in local career fairs, regional career fairs, online career fair and events. You'll see a couple of logos here I want to point out. Our positions all go and flow from Recruit and Hire to School Spring, which is a national job board. They also post to Indeed and including ZipRecruiter. We do targeted posting in Facebook, and again, some of the collateral that you have in front of you represents a couple of those examples of those posts. And I know a few of you have seen them because we appreciate the likes on those. We also do targeted posting to LinkedIn when there are positions available. We have partnered with the Leavenworth Lansing Chamber of Commerce for their weekly job boards. And so there are emails that go out generally on Wednesdays. And when we have vacancies, we will post those there with specific and targeted ads. We also post to Educate Kansas, which if you've been around for a little while, used to be called Kansas Teaching Jobs. It's the same website, but a lot more reach. So individual candidates can search by region. We post hosting fairs, for example, a fair that was hosted with a local faith-based group at our Riverfront Community Center. We participate in the events with the Leavenworth County Development Corporation. They became a strong partner for us last school year. So participating in the local events that they have held for career fairs. And those have actually matriculated candidates from a candidate at the table to an employee who works here now. So those have been successful events. And then finally, a partnership that we strengthened last year was through ACS, or Army Community Service. We do individual interview days with them. We started that last year. We actually hired candidates from those events. So again, those are very successful investments of our time, and our return on those has been great. We then also attend all of the Fort Leavenworth career fairs. Last year, there was one in the fall, one in the spring, and those have also matriculated candidates. In fact, a sneak preview, just a few weeks ago, one of the newly hired teachers we had was from the Fort Leavenworth event. So those are immediate hires and individuals that we can bring on board because they are actively seeking employment.
What's the most valuable one locally that equals in the most hires? Is there one that?
I was just getting ready to say, I don't know that, I can't see
Well,
her.
I think it's the next slide. Thank you for queuing me up. One of the events that we host that I'm very proud of, and it's been a distinct partnership with our special education team, all of our building administrators, our most successful events are held right here. So we host our on-site job fairs. This was a focus for us in recruitment. So just to give you a quick snapshot of our two events from last year, in September of 23, we held on-site interviews for all classified positions. So not a job specific, but multiple opportunities. We had a number of individuals register. We actually had 18 individuals on site to interview, and we hired 9 of those individuals that day. So that's an incredible use of 2 hours of our time to welcome 9 new individuals to our family. In addition, we tried something new. We actually did a very specific job fair at a peak hiring season for us, where we are working to finish out the year successfully. And we were able to welcome 8 candidates for interview and hired 4 of those individuals that day. So again, a 50% return on 2 hours of time. We'll take that every time.
I think it's worth mentioning both classified and certified. What we've found is in person, whether we go there or they come here, we are more successful. There was a short period that all the universities and even the job fairs that Amy Jo just mentioned for classified were virtual. There are still, please hear me say, there are still virtual job fairs, but our applicants prefer the in-person. They get to actually take a tour of our facility, or if we go to them, they can have ask lots of questions one-on-one, which a lot of times when you do the virtual, it may be in a group where everybody's in the same group room, and so it's not as personal. So we have found more success in the in-person and going to them and them coming to us. So we talked about all of our as far as our applicants and how we recruit. We wanted to share how many applicants we actually received this past year. And so if you look at this, you can see the applicant details. We had 365 certified applications last year, 23-24. We had 720 classified, we had 92 administrators, and then we had 70 substitute applications. Of those, we actually processed 1,247 applications, and then we hired for different positions 245. Now, some of you may be doing the math, and we had already showed that we only hired 197. How is that possible? Well, 197, some of those individuals actually filled multiple positions. For example, I hired a math teacher, and he is a football assistant, and he is a track assistant. So he filled 3 positions, 1 person. Does that make sense? So that's how we were able to actually hire for different positions, 245.
Yes.
All right, keep going. So new hire orientation, once we've onboarded them, we want to go ahead and just kind of recap what we do once we've onboarded them. The orientation, we've mentioned a few of these. We host the New Teacher Academy for an hour. We've hosted 21 scheduled semi-annual or semi-monthly new hire orientations. So you're classified, it's every 2 weeks for 2 hours, we do our onboarding. And we do that for certified and classified. Typically, all of our certified, when I first started down here, you hired teachers only at the beginning of the year. Now we hire teachers throughout the entire year. Our peaks are at the beginning, mid-semester, and then, of course, during the recruiting in the spring. And then we hire throughout the summer, but those are our main times. We hosted 20 individual new hire orientations. So we had our scheduled, but because of the need and depending on the position, we went ahead and had individual orientations, 20 of those last year. And then, of course, we've already mentioned that continuation of the para onboarding process, that is a 4-day schedule, 27 hours of training that is provided.
Another one of our focus areas was not only developing, creating, and carrying out our marketing plan, which again, you have some of the collateral in front of you. These include our targeted job posts, our general job posts, and remember, this is for 23-24. So if you see that salary amount, you're like, wait a minute, that's not what it is. That's what it was for last year. So this is bringing to you examples of that. This includes not only our ads, our job postings, our flyers that were used at our tables. This also includes samples of our support. Our team also supports our volunteers. So promoting volunteer service, substitute service, the licensure process for substitutes, a couple of our social media posts, just to give you a sampling of some of the things that we provided. And at your place, there was also a notebook that had a stack of cards tucked inside. Those were our primary recruiting materials. Those were developed with the support of our public relations team. Rachel Spears, Jake Potter supported us in those. So that was a unique and new feature for us, moving away from the traditional 8.5 by 11 or trifold brochure to set ourselves apart. So some of our successes, one of those focuses in addition to building up all of those documents and collateral was to increase our social media presence. So that's what we're bringing forward for your review tonight. You'll note here, we actually had a 28% increase in our overall reach. So this is a snapshot in time of July 1 of 23 through June 30 of 24, kind of representing our school year there. We had that increase, and one of the big pieces from this that I think was really important, we had 4,000 more content interactions. So likes, shares, comments, so really getting a presence out, and our shares really saw a big growth this year. And then one thing that I think is really unique is that we saw a 140% increase in the number of interactions with our ads. So this is bringing net new candidates to us, and I think that's an important piece. If I can get an alibi to refer back to one of our prior slides, those job fairs that we hosted, those were not necessarily bringing individuals from our current candidate pool. Many of those individuals were net new to our pool. So they were not otherwise applicants in our system already. So again, from some of those ads, that was a big support for us. One thing specifically, I have one example of a social media success that I want to share, which is from that job fair posting. So you'll see this is the analytics that we pull from our social media. This reached 5,800 people, had 8,400 impressions, so that was multiple views and or through the scrolling, those sponsored ads. 116 interactions, 40 individuals actually clicked the link to visit the landing page for this event. We had 29 reactions, 10 comments, and 82 shares. So we were really successful in increasing our reach with that specific post. There are certainly other success stories, but that was the one I wanted to bring forward for you this evening.
So the next area is professional development, and that was a focus area for us. Every year, we do the mandated trainings for all staff. This year, we did something different, especially for our certified staff. That first day back was a virtual or in person. So the day is dedicated for them to get all their mandated trainings out of the way so they can focus on the new professional development and or just getting ready for the start of the year. Our feedback was that they appreciated that and liked having that opportunity to do that. We also last year offered, we called them HR happy hours.
It was just the time of day. It was just the time of day.
Yes. And there were 9 learning events for administrators. And it was different topics anywhere from the negotiated agreement to understanding the negotiated agreement to discipline to evaluations. Yep, just all different categories. And it was very well received from our administration. So we plan to continue potentially to do that this year as well. And then, of course, we, along with all of the cabinet members and district administration, get together on a monthly basis. It's called our district leadership team. And we provided professional development in each one of those. And then lastly, the crucial conversations, which has been led by Miss Amy Jo Troyer and Dr. Rebecca Varvel as far as the training. And that has been very successful. A wide range of staff have been receiving that as well. Now, this is where we want to just talk about what you've done and helped with our salary updates. Just to remind everyone, under certified, we were under a 2-year agreement, and that 2-year agreement ended last spring. So in the first year, you agreed to increasing certified teacher salary $700, which brought the base up to $44,000. And then last year, our base was $45,000. You increased it another $1,000 for certified. With regards to our classified, you can see where you increased. Every single classified employee received $1 an hour raise in the 22-23 school year, equaling $245,000. And then the following year, last year, you spent $400,000 for our classified, and you increased. It was a goal of this board to increase our paraprofessional hourly rate, and so we've been able to get up to $14 for that entry-level position. And then in addition to that, we had a 4.4% pool of money for our classified as well. Our benefits. Our benefits also is a part of the negotiated agreement, and so it was already set. You did increase for our health insurance, for example. There is employee plus one, and then family. We agreed through negotiations to increase each one of those levels. Negotiations, we didn't have to come to the table last year. It was already decided, but without any knowledge on the certified or anyone knowing, our premiums went up 31%. And you as a board said there is no way we can put that on the employee. So you actually covered that $700,000 increase for all of our staff. And I say all because it has been the practice of this district and this board. Whatever you do for your teachers, you do for your classified as well as your administrators. So this was given to all employees. And this was a huge benefit because what little raise that they received or the raise they would have received would have been taken out by the premium increases. So thank you for that. And I know they appreciated it and they expressed that on lots of different occasions. So we've talked about the 23-24 school year. And we anticipated that you might have some questions like, okay, so what are you doing with all this information that you just shared with you? So we're just going to kind of give you a little preview of the data that we just shared with you, what we're doing with that. So Dr. Adams, through the direction of Dr. Adams, he, along with our cabinet, have set what we call the WIG, the wildly important goal. As you know, we reported that our fill rate was 87.65% for the 23-24 school year. We believe after much discussion, not only as a cabinet, but with all of our building administration, our people are our most valuable asset. And it's the people that are going to make the difference. It's going to be the people that are going to increase test scores or outcomes. And so we have made a district goal. Our cabinet goal is to get to 90% fill rate, that we're filling all of our positions at 90% by August. Originally, it was August 1st of 2026, and Dr. Adams said, no, it's August 1st, 2025. So we are meeting that goal as of today. But as you know, we have hiring peaks. I report to you every month where we're at with our positions and how many openings we have. We'll continue to do that, but we're raising the bar and we're working. This is not just HR. This is our entire cabinet and all of our buildings, administration teams, teachers. This is a team effort. Everybody has to help with this.
So as we talked about raising the bar, where is it currently at? So we want to give you a quick snapshot. Again, you saw our report from 23-24 monthly. You would see that repeated next year, but we're giving you a sneak peek because we actually track it weekly. So our current peak was last week, 91.8%. We're just down 91.6 this week, but we have steadily hovered since the beginning of school over 90%. So we're really excited about that good start to the year.
What would you accredit your improvement to primarily?
So I think for us, in the 24-25 school year, our paraprofessional onboarding has been a significant retention tool for us. We have been able to avoid losing staff by helping to align a better fit, a better grade level, where we may not have had that opportunity before. And I would also say strong efforts by Mrs. Sloan, our building administration team, to be relentless in our pursuit of quality educators. So filling those classroom teaching vacancies, of which we just did another one yesterday. So working really hard at that.
So the strategic difference between like now and a couple of years ago would be that training piece?
For classified staff, I would say across the board, in particular for our paraprofessionals, yes. I would also say the quality of onboarding that we try to provide. I like to take opportunities to learn from everyone, whether I can change that experience for them, that may not be possible, but I can avoid that particular circumstance from potentially occurring for someone else. So kind of that continuous improvement model and always looking to reflect, having those intentional feedback loops has been a significant impression for us.
Where did those newer ideas come from?
Tell me again.
Where did you get the new training from? Where did that?
I don't know if it was training. I think it's based off of outcomes and really looking at the outcomes. This summer, Kathy Rodelberger and I were on a team and we were setting a goal. And we found we were setting it at 85 before we even knew what our fill rate was. We'll come to find out it was at 86 point something. And so we were thinking it was much lower because when you live it and breathe it every day, and that's all you do, you get really deflated. And it was kind of rewarding to see. And now everybody has the same goal. This is always our goal, to fill positions, but now we have everybody has the same goal.
So is
From the
that,
superintendent to every staff member, really, it's everybody's responsibility.
so is that something that Dr. Adams?
He brought this to us, the wildly important, yes. This was completely, Dr. Adams brought this to us over the summer.
I just wanted to take a moment to highlight how much a difference leadership can make. Thank you.
So in addition, we obviously have some vacancies. So we didn't want to slight or, not address that particular piece. So this is an overall view from where we started, that same weekly tracking mechanism. Our weekly tracking for this week is actually exactly the same, so that's why this one is not quite updated. But you'll see we started at 52%, worked our way up to 88%. So what this graph represents is of the 29.5 remaining vacancies that we had for our certified staff, 26 of those have been filled with a full-time qualified licensed substitute teacher for a long-term placement or a qualified licensed individual from one of our contract placements. So this includes classroom instruction. This also includes special education support and instruction. The remaining positions that are unfilled are certainly no far less important than another, but they may not have direct classroom teaching. So that is why we have held on additional filling, because we are still looking to fill those vacancies with a qualified educator.
To your point, though, your question earlier, Mrs. Reed, as I was thinking about it, as Amy Jo was talking, I think there's a couple other factors. I think we are doing more survey of our staff, the stay survey, what's keeping you here. But you need to be reminded of your retention stipend that you've given our staff for the last 3 years, and we're getting ready to give another one. That's huge. And you're doing it at a higher rate than most school districts. So I do think that that's a factor.
It's usually always more than one thing.
I think there's lots of things, but it's not, it's a team effort from every department, every administrator, every staff member. Our staff members recruiting, the retention, or the actual little, referral bonus. Yep, the referral bonus. That started this last year. So there's lots of different things. It's not one thing that has helped us get here.
I just, from my one person view, have just seen things be a lot different, with a change in leadership. And so whenever I feel like we're heading in the right direction, I want to make sure to highlight that.
So lastly, this is our last slide, and then we'll open it up to questions. What can you anticipate moving forward? So we know that we have data that supports that having on-site fairs here for our classified has been successful. So we are going to have one certified in the fall and one certified in the spring. Not a lot of school districts do that. Some of your larger school districts do, Shawnee Mission, Blue Valley, Olathe. Those are the ones that kind of do on-site. So we're going to try it this year and see if there are success. We'll do it with our local universities and colleges in our area that we actually get most of our student teachers from. So we hope to report back to you with more information on that. Second, we hope to change our interview process. All of our interviews are here at the central office. We invite all of our building administrators, regardless of if it's elementary and they have an elementary license. We're inviting the early education principal, the elementary principals, and the 5-6 principal. So depending if they're very specific and it's a specific grade or license, we're going to do it on site so that we can just immediately follow with the tour. And we think that that will be beneficial. It'll help with the having to, follow me or meet me at the school, things like that. And the building administrator will be right there to give the tour with us. And then lastly, we are transitioning. We share with you our recruitment and where we have been recruiting. We're going to go west. You know that song, Go West? So we're going to start heading west with some more of our recruiting. The teacher mobility compact, a lot of our military dependents, we hire a lot of military dependents. Kansas has has had one of the hardest licensures as far as transitioning. And so we have joined the teacher mobility interstate compact. And so we hope to start recruiting in more of those states that also have the same licensure. And so it'll be universal. So we anticipate these 3 areas hopefully will help us with our fill rate as well. We've covered a lot of things. We appreciate your time. What questions do you have for us? Yes.
I have a question about the contracted service. Are those counted like those people like long-term subs, or is that kind of the category that they're in? And how much, I don't know, how much onboarding do you do with them? Because they're technically, you're not the employer.
Yep.
So
They might technically get a paycheck from somewhere else, but they're pioneers. And so we treat them as such. Our contracted service providers that were with us at the beginning of the year attended Mrs. Batson's team for teaching and learning for all of the new teacher academy events. They get the same investment from our special education leadership team as any other special education teaching staff member would. They were part of our CHAMPS training. So the only difference for us is that they get a paycheck from somewhere else, but they have district email, district access, district devices, district support. We field questions, concerns, any number of things that you would with a regular staff member. So we do that for our contract service as well.
one more question. Do you feel like the contracted services, is that a trend that's going to continue? I don't know. 'Cause
would
I'm
predict it
trying to
would-
figure out, like, on some of these positions, what the advantage is.
Yeah,
Contract versus being,
yep. So a couple
district
advantages,
employee.
not to say this is true for everyone, but I'll give a couple of examples. A Kansas Capers retiree can almost immediately begin working with a contract service provider and be eligible for employment in a Kansas district without ever impacting their retirement. So you see a lot of retired educators. In fact, that's how quite a few of the individuals we have welcomed back, because then there is no penalty for them. They may be individuals who are new to the area, have relocated, and are just simply unfamiliar with our area, that they find a targeted ad, right? Just like on Indeed, like we're posting to, LinkedIn, we're posting to, that they are pursuing employment through a contract service. So it's an individual preference, but I find that the Capers retiree is something that's a real benefit for them.
Thank you.
But it is our goal. I mean, obviously, if we can hire a teacher that is not contracted, contracted services do cost more, as you know.
Mhm.
But it's better than not having the position filled. And right now with the teacher shortage, until we can get more kids going into education at our universities, you're going to see our district along with other districts using more contracted services.
I didn't realize the Capers part or their retirees, and that makes sense to me, but I was just trying to figure out, why would you contract
Yeah.
instead of be a district employee?
So talking about contracted services, and I just want to make sure that we're still doing what we were doing. When I first came onto the board over 6 years ago, we used contract services to get substitutes.
No, we do all that in-house. It's
Yeah,
right
that's why I
here.
said we
Yeah,
do
in
that
your story,
in-house.
yeah.
I
Those-
was
I will
just
send
seeing
them
if
every
we're
day. They're my
contracting
people.
any of those now
Um,
too,
No,
or
we use a third party, and we no
Okay.
longer do that. We do it all in-house.
it's
And
staying
we actually
in-house
have a
still.
higher fill rate as a result of that.
Right, and that's what we had
Yes.
suspected with some of the things that
Yes,
were
ma'am.
occurring at that time. I just wanted to make sure we were still sailing on that same course. Thank you.
I do have a question in regards to the ESSER positions that you were talking about. It's my understanding that nobody lost their job. Like the positions themselves went away because they were created for ESSER, but the people that were in those positions were moved to other positions if they wanted them. So
That
we
is
didn't
true
just
of, that
cut.
is true of all positions unless they chose not to move into another position. For example, if we didn't have extra counselor positions and we went back to our original counselor positions, they may not have wanted to go to another building is one example, but you are correct. Most of them moved into our open positions through retirement or resignations, through just normal attrition.
Thank you.
Off the top of your head, do you know how many instructional facilitators that you have currently this year?
I don't off the top of my head, but I can get you that number.
Okay, and if you could, what you had 2 and 4 years ago?
I will get you those numbers and share it in the BOE FYI.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just didn't have them with me.
No, it's fine.
Yep, sorry.
It's fine.
Mrs. Batson says 6 current, but we should be at 6
general ed.
Okay.
And then we have
6.
2 special education.
All right, and 2 special.
Mrs. Batson,
And then
that
we'll
was a
find
nice
out what we did
semaphore.
previous. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I think we're at 14 now.
Yes. Mr. President, I move we go into executive session to discuss non-elected personnel pursuant to the exception under the Kansas Open Meetings Act, or KOMA, in order to protect the privacy interests of the individuals to be discussed, and then return to open session in 20 minutes, and that will put us at 7:39.
Second.
The board will invite Mr. Adams, Amy Sloan, and Board Attorney Mr. Hingula into the meeting.
Who made the second?
Ms. Murphy.
You really did?
Elisa.
Oh, I'm
Ms.
sorry.
Murphy.
I thought you were pointing at her. Okay. Okay, so we have a motion to go into executive session. Price, second by Mrs. Murphy. Did you throw a bio break in there? I didn't hear that.
No, I did not. Do you want?
Anybody need a bio break? We all good?
Move
All right.
on.
You lucky people. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
7-0. Let's roll. Oh, yeah, leave your phones and laptops and any other devices like that. Do we really need to read off? Can everybody read the dates, or you want to read?
At least the 16th, the special board meeting.
Yeah. was gonna say that, yeah.
Sure. So let's just review that real quick, and then I would be more than happy to read the rest if that would meet your desire. So next week, Monday, is a special meeting per your request, and this circles back to, I think, a July conversation. So that will be at the high school, specifically in the JROTC classroom. The start time is 6:00 p.m. The agenda will be very much work session related, so I don't anticipate much action being proposed. We've obviously been preparing for this for a couple of months, but will include presentations from various groups that we had previously discussed. Prior to that is an opportunity, if your time schedule allows, and actually two, I should say, one of which is in the morning and the other of which is in the afternoon. Mr. Potter and Mr. Vanek are going to coordinate tours of those facilities. I think it's important, if you can, to see the spaces in action. It's one thing to see them when there's no students in there. It's another to see them in their live environment. So if you can make those, I know Mr. Potter's put that in the last couple of Friday reviews, but we'll have one more reminder this week, and just again to get you on your schedule there. Do you want me to read the rest of the dates? Can I answer anything on the 16th? The microphone is yours.
Okay. What do we got here? Oh, board member comments. Mrs. Murphy?
Oh, well, been in school for over a month, or at least it feels like that long. I know I see excitement every day when I pick up my granddaughter or her mom brings her home after school. I am not supposed to listen in, but you can't always miss hearing a child talking to another parent on the phone. But they were asking about her school, and one of the things that she said is like, "Oh my gosh, Daddy, they let me get to pick out what I want to eat." So she's completely ecstatic that she has choices. She gets to serve herself. She feels like such a accomplished little girl in first grade making her food choices. So I really appreciated that. That gave me joy hearing that, and it meant that there was progress there. And she will even say she'll try a bite, and if she doesn't like it, she doesn't like it, but that she'll still try the bite. So that to me is a success. Slow going when school came through. I tease her, I call her my little chicken nugget, because I do sometimes feel like I'm going through McDonald's drive-through to pick up my granddaughter, the way everybody has to come in through multiple lanes, but it is getting better. And I'm not hearing all the chatter in my little box during the day complaining about it. So it's getting better. They're getting used to it. Everybody make sure you go out there to homecoming, because that's like a really cool day. And that is all.
Mrs. Willis?
I want to go with some positives first. I'd like to congratulate Dr. Adams and Karina on the birth of their child. Welcome to parenthood. Love another pioneer.
Right, another pioneer.
I also want to give a shout out to Judy Price. It's no secret, she's my personal friend. Her and I met 14 years ago at a PTA meeting, and we've been serving our school community side by side since then. She just received a huge honor in her second career of her life. She was recognized at the Pentagon by the Secretary of the Army for the Secretary of the Army Award for Editor of the Year. I think that deserves huge accolades. She's not only serves our whole community, but she's being recognized on a national level as well. So she's amazing. I'm glad she's my friend. The only negative I really want to say is that I'm frustrated by my fellow board members that we're not here to support the budget fully as the administration sees that we can. I do understand the frustration with the taxes, but I really feel it's beyond our things, and we're just trying to appease people and keep votes, and that's ridiculous. We need to make sure that the district functions as it should for our students and our staff. So that's all I'm going to say.
Mrs. Reed?
Well, tonight I would like to make special highlight of a wonderful employee that I talk to often who still talks to me. I'm just kidding. He is Jake Potter, and I just appreciate that at any point in time when I send any kind of communication about anything, I always get a professional response, and that's with all of our staff. But I bug him extra, and I just want to highlight that. So congratulations to the Adams on the birth of their child, and I would echo Will's statement of parenthood. I think it's the best thing ever. And so hopefully you'll have that same experience. I'm sure you will. So, and yeah, thanks everyone that was here. It's fairly cleared out now, but for a tax hearing, I thought it went pretty smoothly. So thanks for the emails that came in. I felt like it was more quiet than years in the past, but I will take an opposing view to Ms. Wells and state that I think the board made the best decision for the county, for the city, and the people in it. Thank you.
Ms. Wilson?
I'm just gonna say congratulations again, and we're glad to have another pioneer coming in. And thank you for all those pioneers that started the new year and are making a difference. So we thank you guys, and without you, we couldn't do what we do, so we appreciate you, and have a blessed rest of the year.
Mr. Overby?
I'd like to echo congratulations. Everybody stole my thunder there, but it's great to have a new pioneer and grow our pioneer family. I wanted to highlight something that is new in our district. I want to compliment the efforts of Mr. Potter and Dr. Adams and Christian and all of those who helped or have been featured on our district podcast, 453 Fireside, available on Spotify and iTunes. And I know everyone has a podcast. Our district has a podcast now. And I think we're up to 4 episodes. I do a lot of driving, so I enjoy the long-form interviews and the discussion, and it's been very helpful to me as a new board member. So I just wanted to put a plug in for that for anyone who's interested. There's a lot of good knowledge, good information there on what's going on in the district and what people are thinking, and sort of, a longer version of explanation on things that are going on. So I highly recommend that. And now we're almost, we're a month in, and there's a lot going on. We had a great convocation last month with a lot of positive energy, and I hope we can keep that positive energy going with with all of our staff and our families and our students. We all have a part to play in raising our student achievement and making our district the best that we can be. So, so let's do this. Thanks.
So building on Mrs. Overby's positive energy comment, we were informed based on the comparison this time last year, that we've had a significant reduction of negative behaviors in the classrooms, and I want to say thank you to all of our staff and teachers that make that happen and keeping our kids focused on what they need to be doing while they're at school. Also, the sports schedule is out, and if you haven't picked a team to go out and support, we've got girls tennis, boys soccer, volleyball, and football. Go out and appreciate all the hard work our pioneers put into it, but please don't forget the cheerleaders and the band. I'm looking forward to the next halftime because that's one of the best things out there. Our band guys are awesome. Also for next Monday, for the CTE tours before the special board meeting, I'm looking forward to that because we have a lot of really great things in our CTE programs, so looking forward to hearing information on that. I have a shout out to the Education Foundation because their Academic Hall of Fame induction is going to be the first one of the academic flavor. It's going to be the 11th and 12th of October. Lots of events around that, so just look for the information coming out. And also a reminder to all my fellow board members to sign the resolutions with Emily. Don't leave or I'll come chase you down. Anyway, it's a great day to be a pioneer.
I got a couple of things. One, I went down and watched the Pioneers play at Baser, and it was kind of bad luck, I guess. But I didn't see a whole lot of people down there from here, but it doesn't matter. But they need support for sure. And I think they're gonna get better. They're still kind of a young team as far as, there's a lot of juniors playing. I know that, and sophomores, so they're young. But, you just don't want to get in the mode where if you're getting beat real bad, it's really hard on the kids. I mean, I was fortunate when I was in school that we had really good teams and we were winning a lot. But you got to support the losers just like you do the winners, the way I look at it. I guess it's not really a duty, but Mrs. Murphy and I were on the nutrition committee. And the first year, we didn't do anything, I don't think, but I didn't want to do anything really. I wanted to let them get in there and because the whole new concept. And I knew it was going to be tough transitioning. But this year, would be in the second year on the contract, I decided to go around to all the kitchens and talk to kids, talk to staff, observe some things without saying anything. And so I got through the high school and middle school, and I didn't go to the intermediate, but next couple of weeks, I'm going to try to get Miss Murphy to get some time off and we'll go finish up with the grade schools. And from the visit I had at the high school, I mean, it was very positive. I mean, the kids were really excited about the burrito and taco crunch line they're making fresh hamburger. That's the first question I asked, was not frozen patties chopped up. And the pizza line was a big hit too with the kids, seemed like. And the lines, I was really happy with, the lines went down pretty quick. They were long, but they got the food out and did a great job. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on in the grade school. Let's see, there was something else. Oh, yeah. Good night.